My guest today is one of the most important musicians who redefined the world of social media. He's an expert in almost every musical genre, and I have the privilege of having him on TalkBack today. Mr. Rick Biato.
Hello, sir. How are you, Doran? Good to see you.
Let's just dive into it.
Okay.
So you're a multidisciplinary musician. I really appreciate the fact that I can bring up in the same conversation people like Coltrane, Stravinsky, John Williams, and even Kurt Cobain. And it seems that your level of expertise and knowledge is basically the same. So, A, how did you end up this way? And B, how important do you think for a musician in 2020 to be an all-around musician?
Well, I think it's important to be an all-around musician anytime, regardless of whether it's 2020 or not. I have always had a lot of different interests in different genres of music. I'm from a family of 7. Everybody in my family likes different music. My parents like different music from each other. My dad was a huge jazz lover. My mom loved classical music. Each of my siblings liked different types of music, rock music. Early rock music was always part of my, rock, Motown, R&B. These things were always part of my family historically. Jazz, my dad was a massive jazz lover. He was always listening to jazz. And he really liked, even though he wasn't a musician, he loved really advanced jazz. He loved bebop. He liked, Miles, Oscar Peterson, Joe Pass, people like that. So I was used to hearing that kind of music. And then as I got older, I was always interested in just checking out whatever was new. And I still do that to this day. Working as a music producer for 25 years or so for a living was you always had to be up with whatever current was going on because you're constantly producing that. I produced tons of metal bands. I produced so many different genres of music. And I love Stravinsky and I love Kurt Cobain. I do. People think it's weird. When I mentioned that, people know I love grunge bands and I love metal bands, and they think it's so strange. But I love contemporary, modern classical music, modern jazz, and I don't know. I like to know anything I hear. I want to know what it is. I want to understand it.
As a teenager, did you have like a specific style of music that you were like really into?
So when I was a teenager, I played in the orchestra at school. I played bass. I actually went to my undergrad as a classical bass major, and my master's degree was in jazz guitar. But I played in rock bands in high school. So
you can't escape from that.
Right. So that's kind of what informed me. When I was a little kid, I started playing the cello first. I was lucky enough in my school district, we had 11 full-time music faculty in my public school district, which
Wow.
Because I'm from Rochester, New York, the Eastman School of Music, which is one of the best music schools in the country, in the world, really. A lot of the teachers that taught at Eastman and played in the Rochester Philharmonic lived in my small town of Fairport. So, it was very common. Oh, yeah, my dad plays oboe or teaches at Eastman, or my dad is the drummer from the jazz band. His dad taught percussion at Eastman. So it was you always worked with people there were kids that just had really high skills in my school district. So that actually helped a lot. Mm-hmm. There were also incredibly great jazz guitar players in Rochester. I mowed the lawn of a guy named Tom Rizza who owned a store, which I didn't. This is a random thing. He lived 2 blocks from me, and he convinced me to start taking lessons when I was about 15 or 16. I started with him. Well, he ended up leaving and played with Maynard Ferguson, played in the Tonight Show band. He was a pro guitar player, amazing jazz guitar player, one of the best. And everybody that taught at the music store was a phenomenal musician, guitar player, bass player. So this is the kind of level. My first guitar lesson, I learned Donna Lee by Charlie Parker. That's the first thing I learned. I learned it in 15 minutes. Teacher just taught it to me, and I was like, oh, this is how it goes. Yeah, here's the next part of the melody, and they just expected you to be able to learn it right then.
No, that's insane.
Yeah. So that's, that's kind of what, so that's what my background was like. And people just expected a lot of you back then, and you just delivered. There was no question about it. Even the cover bands, the first band I was ever in, this in 9th grade or 8th grade or whatever, this drummer I met, and we were going to do our first practice. He gave me a song. Here's the songs I want you to learn for our practice. And it was Don't Take Me Alive, Larry Carlton's solo. And I mean, these songs have hardcore, it's like my first band. Long Distance Runaround by Yes, like all these prog rock and, the most difficult things to figure out. And I said, what do I do? He goes, just listen to him, figure out the parts. And I came there, and his brother was a musician, his older brother. And he said, how did you learn that? I learned Larry Carlton's solo. I said, I just listened to it. And he's like, what?
And you have the ears.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could tell, I knew the chords and things, and I could figure out the solos. And so.
And when was the point when you reached like orchestral music? But as a researcher, I mean, because you know a lot of stuff.
I know a lot of stuff. Well, when I was a college professor in my 20s, I taught arranging. I conducted big band. I wanted to understand harmony, and the harmony in jazz was. I wanted to understand where harmony and jazz came from. Players like Bill Evans, and then more modern players that would use, more complex devices. I knew that they got it from classical music, so I started going to a lot of contemporary classical music. I was very familiar with, when you get a music degree, undergrad and master's degree, you have to study. You take music history, so you're constantly listening to music that you're being tested on. So that's but I was really interested, so I was always searching to find where these great sounds were coming from, and I just would go through each composer: Bartók, Stravinsky, Prokofiev, Rachmaninoff, Chopin, Beethoven, Liszt, Brahms. I would just go through them all. And listen to all their greatest works, and I'm just a listener.
Not just a listener. All right. I want to talk to you about your approach to interval instruction, okay? I saw your approach to intervals, which you teach as like decomposing the element of musical trigger, like from a song or whatever, and like learning it in a more strict kind of way. Obviously, the benefit, as I see it, is accomplishing the descending intervals in the same learning period, as opposed to doing all of the ascending intervals and then the descending intervals. So what's your end on of musical triggers for interval learning?
I used to use musical triggers, songs that would allow people to reference Here Comes the Bride for a Perfect Four, things like that. And then I've gotten away from that over the past couple of years. And one of the reasons is that there's not the cultural references anymore for people. They don't know a lot of these things that people used to use, whether it's My Bonnie Lies Over the Ocean for a major six, things like that, those type of triggers. People don't know these things.
Or My Way.
Yeah, or My Way. They just don't know. They're outdated references at this point. So I've gone to teaching intervals through different methods now, and I think that is actually a better way to do it. Talking about relating them to other intervals. Whether it's related to the major scale, if it's the sixth degree in a major scale, that's a major sixth interval, or the sixth degree, the flat sixth, the minor sixth, which is, a half step above the fifth, and hearing that natural pull to the fifth, or hearing it as the sixth degree of the natural minor scale, things like that.
Yeah, but well, one thing that I was thrown off by was the major third. I mean, you did something like da da de, and then da da, and I mean that's a great way, one way to look at it.
Yeah,
I mean,
the above and
that's
below.
a great way.
Above and below the note. Yeah.
It decomposes the tonal connection. I mean, to the major chord. So is the descending interval, like the major third descending interval, is it really that important to like disconnect it from the major triad?
That's a great question. Is it important? It really depends on who you're talking about, because I always felt like you need to be able to teach things in about 3 or 4 different ways to different people, because the more that I work with people, the more I realize that certain approaches do not work for certain people and other ones are very obvious to them. When it comes to things like music theory, I did a live stream yesterday where I have a piano that lights up notes. And I've done this the last 2 live streams I've done. And I've never done that in a video before in a live stream. And people said, oh my God, this is so much easier to learn this like this. I was talking about modes.
Like this?
Exactly. So what is that exactly? Is that Logic?
No, that's a really great app. It's called Chordy, and it just displays everything. I mean, notes.
I need to have that, because the way I was doing it.
I'm going to send the link.
Does it track the sustain pedal, Doran, or not? Yeah, because that is really helpful. Those kind of things. Now, so there's right there are 2 different elements for learning. You have the actual visual representation of the keyboard, and you have the notation representation, right? You have those notes put there. Now, for many people though, if I simply write out numbers, okay, here's a major scale, 1 through 7. To get a Lydian scale, the Lydian mode, you sharp the fourth scale degree, raise it by a half step. To get a Dorian scale, you flat the 3rd and you flat the 7th, things like that. Oh, okay. And then the second level of learning is, after you've explained that, then you show it on a keyboard, right? Or you show it on a guitar, or whatever it is. You show it on a particular instrument, and people can relate it to that. But there's so many different triggers that are important for people when it comes to learning, that I've found. So
I think that one of the most outrageous things in music analysis is the way that scholars write harmonic degrees and chord symbols. There's no way to find one way for writing harmonic degrees. And I'm talking about like distinguished academic books, which sometimes don't use the same terminology, even in the same book. I mean, you can find like a 7th degree in the first chapter written in one way, but in chapter 4, it's being marked like in another way. So why do you think that is? I mean, how come the musical academic world doesn't have one basic terminology? And I'm excluding the cadential 6/4. Okay, I don't want to get into that fight.
That's a great question. That is a very good question. If you have a major key and you're using Roman numerals, you use the minor Roman numerals for minor chords, major capital Roman numerals for major chords. But when you go to a minor key, do you put a flat in front of the 3rd? Do you put flat?
Of course, yeah.
And then a major, 3 not Roman numeral. And some people do and some people don't.
Yeah,
and that's
the Holy Grail.
That is the Holy Grail. I like to have that there, because if I have the natural 3rd there, once again, this comes back to relating everything to a major scale. That's why the numbering system, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. That makes it extra clear for people that, okay, the third degree is flatted in this. It's not enough to say it's a major 3 chord, because if you're in C minor, to me that implies an E7 or E major chord. If you just have a 3 major Roman numeral. And
yeah,
this
but
is
then
extremely
the tonal connection gets like blurry,
right,
because
correct.
in C minor it's supposed to be like an E flat major.
Correct. So the fact that that's not standardized is very odd to me. But I've always used it using the accidental before the Roman numeral. That's the way that's not necessarily the way I was taught, I don't think. I can't even remember, because I've been using it that way for so many years. I can't remember if I was taught that way or not. That's the way I've always done it. And when you tell somebody, oh, it's it's the 7 if you're in C minor. Oh, you mean the major 7? No, the flat 7. So you may as well just state what it is, as far as I'm concerned, and state it in writing and when you're speaking.
Yeah, it's like nobody talks about it. I mean, is it a secret or something? Is the Illuminati on it or something? Find a way.
Darn, that's actually that is a great topic that I don't hear enough people talk about.
Yeah, maybe we should do something about it.
Yeah. I'm with you on that. But that's the way I do it. I put the accidental in front of it, so there's no question.
I think that the chord symbol terminology is even worse than harmonic degrees and like Roman numerals. Because if you compare like a jazz big band writing or pop writing or Broadway musical scores, it's totally different for every genre. I mean, if you have like a 9 chord, but it's being written for jazz musicians, they would probably add the 7 to it, because that's a 9 chord. So, but if the 9 is written for like a pop group or something, or a rock group, the chord won't be with a 7. It will be like an add 9, or what you Americans call it. So that's really weird to me that the genre defines the terminology.
That's right. And how do you explain that? Well, I just say, if it says 9, then it implies it has a 7th, a flat 7th in it. If it's an add 9, I literally just write add 9. If it's a sus2, then it's in the lower octave, and if it's a sus9, it's a would be C, G, D, for example, voicing open fifths.
Yeah.
So
like police.
Right. So those things are important to write correctly, so you get people to play voicings that you want them. You know, when I was writing my own tunes in college, I would always specify the voicings, because I would want the people to play. I don't want, if I'm playing the melodies in A Dorian or something, I don't want the piano player to play every note in the Dorian mode in his voicing or her voicing. I would write C sus2 over A, and then they would write that, or G sus4 over A, and it would be an A minor 11 chord. And I know that I could reliably have that chord voicing under my what I was playing. And if the melody used the notes B or F sharp, you'd create a major 7th interval between the 7th or the flat 3rd, and it would sound great with that particular voicing. Whereas if they played a minor 13th voicing, and I have the 13th in the melody, it takes all the zing away from the 13th. I don't want them to play that in the voicing. I want my melody note to be the only one with that extension. So that's why I would specify the particular voicings.
That's actually a great idea. I mean, if you want to make sure that your composition is being played like properly. But then again, I mean, it can. I think it can like bum out some of the musicians, because the lack of freedom occurs.
I would state to them that that's for the melody only, you know, those chords. And then obviously you can embellish during, you know, when we're improvising, play whatever you'd like.
I can't have you on without asking about Dylan. I mean, his abilities are just insane. I can hear stuff that he hears, but I'm 37 years old and I had my share of learning. In his age, watching the Transformers was the highlight of my day. And he's doing like polychords. So is it just purely talent and the fact that he absorbed music since day one? Or did you pull Jackson 5 dad thing kind of on him?
No, the only time I ever worked with Dylan on his ear, teaching him anything, was when he was 4 and 5. Or really right just before he turned 4, because he was 3 when I realized he had perfect pitch. I played him a lot of complex music before he was born, while he was a baby. But then when I realized he had perfect pitch, then I thought, I'm going to teach him music theory. So I started by teaching him triads and seventh chords, then modes and things like that. And he just has an incredibly good memory. And you just tell him something once, here's a G minor 13 chord, or this is a, C altered chord, whatever, and okay, yeah, I got it. So that's why he remembers the stuff, and then he hears chords. Yeah, okay, I know it's this, whatever it is, D flat minor over C major, whatever, he just hears it and knows what it is. He can just say it.
Mm-hmm. So, but do you think that is there a way to teach polychords? I mean, because there are so many options. You're not going to work on a C major triad and all inversions and then put next to it another chord. I mean, a major, minor, diminished, augmented, whatever. I mean, there are just too many options. So you can't work on everything.
Okay, so I have an ear training course that's out, Biato ear training, and the polychord section we just finished. And there's 800 and some odd examples in there. And the way that I'm teaching to learn them is to work on them in 3 different categories. What I call beginner, intermediate, advanced. The beginner ones would be ones that either have some of the same chord tones. For example, G major over C. Now you could say that's a polychord, or you say, that's a C major 9 chord. So that would be in the beginner one. And then the intermediate ones would be D major over C, for example. So they have one accidental in it, right? And then the advanced ones would be F sharp major over C, for example, or B major over C, things like that. And so then you work on those in sections, and then the ear training thing tests you for these, and you start to be able to recognize them. And as you practice these all in different inversions and things, you start to be, wow, I can actually pick these out. If after you practice.
But are you doing just major chords or what?
No, minor and then chords? Do minor chords, and then minor chords over minor chords, major chords over minor chords. Yeah, and so you do major chords over major chords, minor chords over major chords, then reverse it. Minor chords over minor, major over minor. And between those, even if you don't go any further than that, that's pretty advanced, because you can get what I call chromatic polychords. Chromatic polychords would be ones that will have 3 consecutive half steps in them. Like a chromatic polychord would be, D sus2 over C major, for example. So
D sus2 over C major.
I'm sorry, D flat sus2.
D flat.
So you'd have D flat, E flat, A flat,
and
C
and C and D and G.
Exactly. So but because of that, that would be a chromatic poly. Anything that has 3 consecutive half steps in it. This is interesting because we haven't released this part of it, and we're getting data from I have 20 sections of my ear training course, and we get data from the people that use it. Who the fastest people are, people that opt in. You can actually see on the back end who the people are that, because it actually keeps a score of the top people in the world and how fast they can do it. And you can see which ones are the most difficult, which is really fascinating to be able to go through and gather that information on what are difficult chords for people to have. One of the hardest chapters are
wow, I'm just realizing you're like the NSA of ear training. You're collecting data on musicians.
Well, it's for people that opt in on it, yeah, because their scores are all tallied on there because they actually have a leaderboard, and the people that are the fastest, like it's gamified.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is cool. So as a matter of fact, one of the guys that is one of the fastest, one of the leaders on it, he went to Eastman. And he is working for us now and helping on do some helping me with the PDFs and things that go with it, and putting together the theory portion of it that I talk about in the videos that go along with the ear training course, but actually putting it together in booklet form, things like that. So and I found him because he's one of the leaders on the hardest things, the hardest chapters in there, which is great. It's great that where do you find somebody that can understand this stuff to help out? Well, you just go to the ear training thing and look at who the top people are and contact them.
So that video, of the first video of Dylan and you, it went like insanely viral and really opened the door for you as like a social media musical VIP persona. What do you think is going to happen in the next few years in the world of online teaching and learning?
Well, as we know, this is right now, it's the only way people are learning.
only way. Yeah. Go COVID.
Look, I've noticed from my kids' schooling this year, they started doing online schooling when the lockdown happened here in March. And the teachers, they didn't know how to use Zoom. They didn't have any resources. They were just scrambling to put things together for the end of the year. And they ended up ending the school year 3 weeks early from what they were. But now, after having the whole summer to prepare, they've got it together. And their kids are doing well. And the teachers are far better prepared with their resources. And they know how to make videos. They know how to do Zoom learning with the kids, and it's great. Well, it's the same thing that's happened in music over the last 10 years or so, with YouTube and things like that people are able to teach and getting better at teaching. I'm getting better at teaching. I know how to use a camera now, where I didn't at the beginning of my channel. Even though I felt like my content was great, my production values were very bad in comparison to comparison to what they are now. And I knew how to deliver the content, but I didn't know how to deliver it where it looked good. So those are those are some of the things that are also a part of online learning. But online learning
audio and video quality.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the deal breaker here, game changer.
When I'm looking at you on the screen here, I know you have a DSLR because you have a depth of field. And
yep.
That to me is it's an unconscious thing. Well, I notice it now, but it's an unconscious thing that people think that looks pro, which it does look pro. So the online level of teaching has dramatically improved in the last few years since I started on YouTube. Everybody is doing it at a higher level. Now you have people, the best musicians in the world are all at home and they're all working on their online presence, which is great. Yeah. I think it's amazing. Very, very psyched about it.
Yeah, that's one of the most important things in coronavirus for musicians, being able to use this platform to earn a living.
Yeah.
I came across that video, I think maybe 4 years ago, something like that.
5 years ago, the first video.
5 years ago.
Yep.
And I think you had like maybe 10,000 or 20,000 subscribers in YouTube. And now it's like a 1.87 million. That's insane for like a channel that discusses music theory and solos and intros and outros from songs. That's totally insane. The fact that you can sit in home and just talk to the camera and talk about stuff you obviously love, because otherwise it just wouldn't have happened.
Right.
That's amazing that you can, one, earn a living from it, and being so influential. It's like you're a top musician. I mean, even if it's not about your pieces of music, your compositions, but it's in your musical content. So that's amazing. You're really influential.
When that Dylan video came out, so that came out, it was December of 2015. I started my channel in June of 2016. So my channel's been out for just over 4 years now. And I realized with that video of Dylan's, the power of, I mean, I was hardly online at all at that point. I had a Facebook account, that was it. And I had a YouTube account, and I would only use YouTube to show my mom videos of my kids. That's the only things that were on my YouTube channel. And that Dylan video that I put out 4 of them, but really that first one that just went bonkers was on my Facebook page. And, it got 22 million views or something like that. And it made me realize the power of social media, reaching people through music. And I started my channel, and I had 47 subscribers in June 8th of 2016 that's all I had on YouTube, 47 subscribers.
That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I hit 10,000 in probably August. I hit 10,000, I think. And that's the hardest thing, is the first 10,000. That's what they say anyways. But I just keep making videos every day. And did I think it was going to be as successful it is? No. I never thought about it. I just kept making videos because it was fun.
Yeah, but you've evolved since. I mean, first it was everything music, which I love. And after you started doing like shows like what make this song great, and 20 intros, 20 famous intros, guitar, bass, drums, etc.
Yeah, those were kind of things that were fun for me, because the first 2 years of my channel was all about improvisation, was music theory, jazz, modern classical music, film scoring, things like that. And I wanted to expand out, since I've been a music producer for 25 years, and yet I never touched those topics at all. Any topic, I never did any videos on rock music at the beginning for 2 years. And I started doing those, and I thought at first, I was like, people that watch my channel aren't going to be interested in that. And they were, and it's, now I just did a video the other day that I'm very proud of, this Stairway to Heaven video, where I reimagined the guitar solo from Stairway to Heaven. I had Eric Johnson and Phil X play.
Wow.
The day before Eddie Van Halen died. So my dear friend Phil X played what he thought Eddie Van Halen would play on Stairway to Heaven. I recreated the backing track. I was like an actor. I was Peter Frampton. I played what I thought Peter Frampton would have played in 1976. Phil played what he thought Eddie Van Halen would have played in 1982. And I called Eric Johnson. I said, Eric, hey, I want you to, are you interested in being in a video? And he says, what's it about? I said, well, you're going to play yourself playing over Stairway to Heaven. He said, you mean, what would I play over Stairway to Heaven? I said, yeah. And he said, oh, that sounds cool. And I said, all you have to do is film yourself while you're doing it. He said, yeah, no problem. So I put it out the day before Eddie passed away, and the video's done really well. And it's basically, what if Eddie Van Halen and Eric Johnson played over Stairway to Heaven? What would it sound
I can
like?
probably guess what Eric Johnson did.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my mind, I thought, what is Eric Johnson going to sound like over Stairway to Heaven? And he sounded like what you think Eric Johnson would sound like.
Wow. I'm dying to hear it.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of that. And now there's, in about 4 days or so, it has 14,000 comments, and they're all, please do this song with these 3 players. Please do that song with this solo. Do Comfortably Numb. Do Bohemian Rhapsody. Do blah, blah, blah with different players.
The question is, did they know how to come in the like the fermata? Dee-da-dum, 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 down, down, or did they do that like
Eric is the only one.
Ba-ba-bum,
No, so I did the backing
with
track.
a pickup.
Yeah, so I did the backing track beforehand. So part of the video, the first part of the video is talking about the concept. Then it's me and a drummer making the backing track. And then we solo over it. Eric soloed over that section, actually. But Phil and I didn't. We started where the beginning of the solo was.
Most of the people do not know how to play that song. I mean, the count there is 1, 2, 3, 4, ba-ba-bum, ba-ba-bum, do-do-dum, down, down. And most of the people play like 1, 2, 3, 4, do-do-dum, do-do-dum, do-do-dum. And then it just gets shitty when the solo enters. If you hear it that way, you have like 7/8 in the last bar.
Yeah, where the snare hits when it goes from the C add 9 to the G over B chord is really interesting. Although I made a video talking about that a long time ago, about the timing of that, so I didn't really dwell on that or anything. And I've played it so much I don't even think about it. We don't even. It's interesting because I didn't have a count or anything during that. Me and the drummer Jack, the guy, had come in and play. Because we had actually talked about it a long time ago on a video. We talked about Stairway to Heaven on that section, and so Jack already knew how to count it. So we just played. First time through, we played it dead on with it.
Wow. So. Okay. Listen, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. You have a lot of fans and people who really appreciate your videos, your books, your online courses, and the tips. So again, thank you so much for this interview, and I hope the next time we'll talk, the coronavirus will be like a distant memory and everything will go back to normal.
Yeah, I hope so. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Rick Beato.